Hiya, hiya. Whatever happened to summer camp? I think we kind of lost that with the COVID-19. Kids can't go to camp because they can't have that relationship that we've all been used to when we had Camp Granada. Hello, mother. Hello, father. And a guy that reminds me of Alan Sherman is Brad Zimmerman. But except Alan was never a waiter. Brad Zimmerman, he came into this whole picture watching everybody be wonderful and funny and said, wait a minute, I can do that. What am I schlepping for? I think that's part of the story. Isn't that right? Is that correct, Brad, or do I have it wrong here?
Yes, Joey. But before we get to that, when you brought up camp, I have a tremendous empathy for all the kids who can't go to summer camp. I'm talking obviously about the Jews, because the Gentiles, they go sailing. So,
Jews don't camp, I heard.
I know. Summer camp. I went to Camp Akiba for 7 years. I was the best all-around athlete 2 years in a row. The only year I wasn't color war captain, Uncle Howie told me, was because I was conceited. And it still hurts me to this day.
Well, you were up in the Catskills, right? Did you go to Grossing?
No, I was in the Poconos, Bubba. I was in the Poconos.
Well, what's the difference? Where is that? Another mountain range? Where is the Poconos? Joey, you should not be doing this for a living. The Poconos is in Pennsylvania. The Catskills is in upstate New York. I see. Well, where are all the Jews?
Where are the Jews? Is that the title of a song? Where are all the Jews? They're in the Hamptons right now, the rich ones.
I know, buying mansions too.
Unbelievable, Joey. And they're moving their families. They're abandoning this beautiful city, but I guess I have to sort of understand it. So,
well, first of all, what are you going to do if you go to New York? I mean, there's no entertainment. You can't go out and eat. You can't drink. You can't have dinner with anybody or go to their house. What are you going to do in New York? Hang around and watch the buildings? Why would anyone go there?
Joey, I have to be honest with you. A lot of it is related to your financial situation. I'm where I'm in a rent stabilized 1-room apartment, and I'm fine. I just need to do my work. I have a YouTube little thing that I'm putting out each week. It's a little show called A Bit of Brad, and each episode is about 3 minutes, and it's doing really well. So that gives me my creative outlet, for the time being. Plus, I'm working on the sequel. In 2 weeks, I'm doing the sequel to My Son the Waiter, A Jewish Tragedy, which is called My Rise to the Middle, at the Morristown Museum Theater in Morristown, New Jersey, just in case you didn't know. And it's outside. They're doing it on the second level of a parking garage. You have to bring your own chairs. They're doing social distancing. I'm bringing a ruler, one of those slide rules, because I don't want anybody within 5 feet 11 inches of me, because that scares me.
I think you're amazing with all of your comedy, but I don't know how you're going to get a crowd to come and applaud and laugh when they're not together. What are they going to do? You got a soundtrack or something? You can't get a crowd, can you?
Here's the deal, Joey. I'm going to be honest with you. They've done 2 shows so far, and they've sold out twice. My second piece is really funny. I think, Joey, there's nothing that people would rather do right now than laugh, than find something to take them away for an hour and a half from, as my friend says, he says to me, he works for a big company, he said, I'm tired. And a lot of people up here, Joey, are tired. It's kind of a weary thing. It's weighing on people,
Well, yeah, sure. Well, I'm tired of watching television. There's nothing on. I paid for all these TV things, and their movies are terrible because the good ones are premium, and I don't want to pay any more than I already paid.
Right.
They found a way to charge you. Yes. First you pay for the cable that has commercials, and then you have the commercials on the premium, and yeah. I'll tell you a show that's great though that you have to see. It's on HBO Max. It's The Pickle Man. Have you heard
I
about
just
that?
read about that.
Yeah. Well, that one I like. That's Seth Rogen, and I like that. It's a very Jewish show, so
Oh,
you love
yes,
it.
he plays two roles. Yes.
Yeah, and it's wonderful. It's a wonderful picture. It's first of all, it makes you feel good, and it's funny, and it's also it's like Fiddler on a Roof without music. It's kind
Right.
of cool. The
Right.
Cossacks invade, and they take you. They destroy the village, and he comes to New York, and after he's asleep for 100 years because he falls into pickle brine.
Right.
It's so
That's
silly I
great.
can say that for you because it's great.
That's
It's a great
great.
idea, and it's the best thing I've seen. I mean, that is not even premium. I mean, I didn't even have to pay extra. I hate this premium thing. The Peacock, which is NBC, we were the first ones to have that. When you were on our show in Times Square, that was NBC Digital. That was the precursor for the Peacock. And when we were doing that show every night, 10 to midnight out of Times Square, which you recall, that's why I'm saying it, for those who don't know what I'm talking about. That particular show was on the channel that nobody knew they had. It was a smart TV, but it wasn't so smart back then. It was a little dumb. It was very dumb on our part. But the TV itself was a Peacock network. Now,
I thought, Joey, I got it.
Go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to say that you just reminded me of that period of sitting around the table with you and Sergeant Zimmerman, who played Sergeant. What was his name?
Mickey Freeman.
Mickey.
On the Bilko. He was on Bilko.
Yes, and and Sidney Meyer, and it was just incredible, Joey.
And don't forget
it was
Myra
so much
Channon.
fun.
Don't forget Mother Wonderful, Myra Channon.
Oh, how is Myra?
Myra's back. She's down here in Florida. She's writing, but she always did that. She was known as Mother Wonderful.
Yeah.
She's the one who taught me how to make the cheesecakes that I got famous for.
Your show was so enjoyable, Joey. But it's interesting you said Alan Sherman. I hear these people passing away, the great old cat. Just heard that Sal Richards passed away, and Mal Z doesn't perform anymore, and I don't know about Freddie and Dick Capri and those guys, but there's nobody to replace them. Literally nobody. They were so special. You know what I'm saying?
That was the Catskills on Broadway, and the Catskills.
Yes.
I love that. I love the Mickey Freeman was my favorite. He said that people would complain about the food. They'd write home and say, "Can you send me something because all they have here is breakfast, lunch, and dinner."
But you did mention, Joey, you mentioned me being a waiter. So for those people who are listening to us, let me elaborate a little bit. I came to New York to make it as an actor, but I never pursued it because I wasn't really born to be an actor. I just got in it. It was similar to sports, which I was great at. So I never pursued it. So I waited tables for 29 years. And a waitress at my job where I was working had taken a class in stand-up comedy. So I took a class. I did 5 minutes on waiting tables, which included lines like, the woman can't make up her mind what she wants to eat. And while she's deciding, her husband tries to occupy me, says to me, "So, what do you do when you're not here?" I said, "I have other tables." You know what I'm saying? So I started writing, a guy walks in, he starts flagging me down as he's being led to his table. I walked over, he says, "I'm in a hurry." I said, "So go," So I started writing, and slowly, after maybe 6 or 7 years, somebody called me to offer me money to do comedy, and that was the beginning. And it just so happened that first call was from a guy. He said, "Can you do an Orthodox Hungarian Jewish bungalow community in the Catskills for $400? True story. I would have said no, but he said $400. Then I said, how much time? I said, how much time do I have to do? He said, 55 minutes. You can do 55 minutes, right? I had never done 55 minutes, Joey. Never done anywhere near 55 minutes. I'd never done more than 15. But he said $400. So I said yes. So that was the beginning of my experience in it. Then I ended up, Joan Rivers saw my tape. George Carlin saw my tape. So, and then I wrote a play called My Son, the Waiter, Jewish Tragedy, which has been on tour. I was in Phoenix in March of this year. And on March 12th, I did my last show. So, I've done a couple of Zoom shows, and then in 2 weeks, I do my show for hopefully over 200. So it's, you do what you can, Joe.
Well, you're great. I think getting back on the horse again, how about a drive-in theater?
How about what?
A drive-in theater.
I haven't.
A drive-in.
I know, but the question is, are they doing that?
Yes. Here at in Fort Lauderdale, we have that guitar-shaped hotel, which is the Hard Rock.
Right.
And it is owned by the Seminole Indians, And so what they have there is it used to be Joe Robbie Stadium where the Dolphins play, and now it's the Hard Rock Stadium. So they have room for 200 cars and a big screen, and people get out of the car and they go and have a snack. Of course, you should wear a mask, and then you watch the movie without a mask, I think. But it's also the place where it's a COVID testing center, so some people get it mixed up. They think it's a nighttime test,
Right.
But when you where were you waiting? Where were you when you were a waiter?
I was always waiting tables at very casual restaurants, Joey, simply because the reason is this. My strength as a waiter was my personality. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to spend, weeks learning which side to serve from, wine stuff. I know two things about wine. We have it or we don't. I had a customer said to me, what's the difference between the Cabernet and the Côte du Rhône? I said $1. So I was very casual. It was all casual working, so everything. Figaro Cafe was my first job. That's where De Niro and Pacino used to hang out in the Village. I was a busboy. I started as a busboy. Boy, oh boy. And so, it was, again, as I said, just really casual. There was a place called Marigold's Restaurant on Madison Avenue where Regis Philbin used to come in, and Jackie Mason, when he did his one-person show, that was his hangout. So he would come in and he would greet everybody. He would just walk by table. How are you? Good to see you. How are you? How are you? I mean, what a character. I don't think he's performing anymore, is he? Not that anybody is now, but
I don't think he's performing right now, but I would see him perform wherever he was. He would perform acts with animals if you let him. He was very good. I used to go to his
prime.
He liked the Chinese restaurants, and he would make fun of the ducks that were hanging in the window. Bring me that one.
Right.
Jackie, he's a natural guy, and you're natural yourself too. You work right off of what's happening. What is, and that's what you do. So that's why I don't think you're a scripted guy. Maybe your show. I've seen you do the show a couple of years ago, and it's very funny. But it seemed like it was mostly ad lib, unless you just seemed that way. That's all.
Both. It was both. It was both. Yes.
But I was thinking about this. One of the reasons why sports is very difficult to watch now is not necessarily because it's in the confines. I watch the Miami Heat, for instance. Of course, we're living in the Miami Heat, 95 degrees. But watching the NBA and watching the Miami Heat play out of Orlando, Disney knows how to do it. They have built an arena indoor with the fake seats and patrons, and a black backdrop so that it looks full if the camera's way back, and they use sound effects. They make it sound like there's a crowd. So it's like a movie. You really believe it after a while. and the game in Orlando is Disney-fied, so that definitely is a cool thing. I had a television show in Miami. I've talked about this before, and my TV show had a painted audience because we couldn't get enough people. So we painted the cardboard cutouts on the last row, and now that's a way of life, But we did that because we couldn't attract an audience. I was in a Latin neighborhood speaking English. Wasn't good at that time.
Right.
Now it's okay, But whatever the case, the reason I brought it up is that you work off of a crowd, and I think sports doesn't have that cheering. They don't have that crowd going on except for that Disney thing. So how do people work in sports off of the energy of the fans? Do you know?
I think that's a great question. I think, first of all, let me address what you just said about sports and not having an audience. I find it, I haven't watched, and I read the sports section every day. It used to be the first section that I read. Now it's the last section. First time in my life, because there's more important things in sports. And the reality, Joey, is it's so different. First of all, the beginning of September, if you think about it, normally it's the U.S. Open in tennis. It's the beginning of fall. It's baseball winding down in September, October, November, and all these things. And, we may not have any of that. I mean, we might not have college football. We're going to have professional football. We're going to have the baseball. But without an audience, it doesn't interest me, Joey. It loses a norm. I haven't watched one pitch in baseball. Not one. The only thing I can watch, Joey, and I mean this, is golf. Because there are people standing by, and it's such a solo endeavor that you do get the impression that there are people like gallery people, like officials, like caddies, et cetera, sportscasters. So there's that sense, you have the PGA going on. That I can watch. But I'm not going to watch college football with nobody in the audience. It's like a scrimmage. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. I mean that sincerely. It would be like doing theater in an empty house, doing a great, something with Nathan Lane and hearing nothing when it's supposed to be a punchline. It's brutal.
I know.
So yes.
And I have it all the time here, because I'll talk to people, but there's no response. So I wind up doing a selfie, and
right.
Monologues are okay if there's someone watching you. Yeah. A monologue needs to be accompanied by a voyeur. You need someone that's tuning in. But we're having a conversation.
You're absolutely right, Joe.
Well, you and I talking is different, though. We're having a hang, and that's why I wanted to do this format instead of having a gangbang, because the gangbang would be distractive. Just what the Hollywood squares. One square and then another square, another square. It's okay for a game show, but not for a talk. So I said, why don't I call Brad Zimmerman? I said, he's very funny and he's really a good guy. And I remember having you on all the time, and you were always very natural, and easygoing. So right. I'm glad to have you here today. It's good to see you. This is as close as we're going to get, though.
It's good to see you.
I'm not bringing two chairs. I've heard of it.
Joey.
What?
I will see you when I come down to Florida when it's safe, because my mother lives in Boca and my brother lives in Fort Lauderdale and my cousin lives in Miami, and I love visiting Florida. It's a great place to visit. How hot is it there right now? What is the temperature?
It is so hot. 95 today. It's summer.
Wow.
It's August. This is the month that everybody hates. This is when your underarm hairs curl from the humidity. This is not the fun month. But after this, then everybody wants to come down here because it's nice.
So are you going to is this going to be your permanent residence now, or what's your story?
No, I commuted every week. I was doing this all this time, going back and forth between Florida and New York,
Got it.
So now I got stuck down here. I had a flight going to Westchester the day that everybody dreaded when we heard that you should not get on an airplane. And I stayed home. right here, this home. I live in New York as well, so I go back and forth. But I like it. I like New York for the energy. But now, I can't go back and have a drink with the governor. I mean, he wants us to come up there and have a drink with him. I mean, come on. I'm not going to Albany.
Well, let me ask you this. When you just said, oh, the governor, okay, as opposed to the mayor, okay, that's a different ballgame. Okay, no, I understand. I'm a Four Seasons guy, Joey. I love the Four Seasons. Yeah, it's hot here now, but when the fall comes and it's crisp, and even the winter, but what you're saying, that 95 when you're sweating, constantly, or your neck, or you're under, that I don't like, so.
Well, the difference in Florida is we're equipped, everything's air conditioned.
Yes.
Up north, someone sticks one in a window in a one-bedroom apartment, and they don't use it a lot, but that's not equipped to have this kind of season. This is the tropics, subtropics they call it, and it's going to rain. So let a smile be your umbrella. But that's what you got to do around here. You got to just go along with the gag. And there's a lot of old Jews that used to hang around here. We got rid of all the old Jews. They were sitting on their porches in July with fur coats.
Right.
Remember the movie with the Hole in the Head with Frank Sinatra?
Oh God, absolutely. So Joey, let me ask you this: do you do a coffee klatch? Do you have a coffee klatch group or not now?
No, I go with there's a guy who produces Entertainment Tonight, my friend Kevin Gershon, and I go to that thing on Thursday night. Once a week is enough for me. I don't want to be too social. And besides, I got nominated for the Broadcast Hall of Fame this year, the Radio Hall of Fame. And I needed to schmooze a little. So I hung around with the people who have votes. It's like the Oscars, all of a sudden Tom Hanks shows up. He hasn't been anywhere for a year, but you see him everywhere now. That's what you do when you're running for office.
You were nominated for the Radio Hall of Fame?
Yeah. We'll know next week.
Mazel tov. That's wonderful.
Well, thank you. There's another couple of people on the thing on the nomination are dead. So if they win, I'm going to really be pissed.
Well, you write a speech.
No, I'm an ad-libber. I wouldn't know how to do a comedy and read it. It has to come out of my soul, or I don't do it. I never learned how to do stand-up. I went to Harvey Lembeck's classes in L.A., and I learned stand-up comedy. For a long time, I was with Jack. That's a long story. I don't want to tell my whole story. But anyway.
No, I want to hear it.
I went to Harvey Lembeck. He was the guy who was on black and white TV sitcoms in the early days, and he became a teacher.
I know Harvey Lembeck.
Well, I went to his classes. And Chris Lemon, who's Jack's son, and I both came out of there without doing any of the things that we learned. He became a writer, and I became a talk show guy. But we learned to be good at whatever we wanted to do in that platform. I never became a sitcom guy. I never liked to do that, and I didn't want to do a sketch comedy. And Chris didn't want to do that either. So he's a great writer, and he wrote a wonderful book about his father. And as a matter of fact, I was at a dinner at Elaine's on First Avenue in New York, which that was a watering hole for Woody Allen and a lot of the famous people.
Oh yes, that was unbelievable.
Neil Simon complimented him, said that you're really a good writer. Of course, Neil Simon was friends with his dad, but these are stories. It's all a hand-me-down. Everything's a hand-me-down. The stuff that you're doing is a hand-me-down from all these people who set the tone, and some of it has gone away now. Some of it we don't do anymore because this generation is very select. They're more select. They are not so much. A lot of people think it's a short attention span. I don't think it's so much that. I mean, when you first began in comedy, it was a 2-drink minimum. Now it's a 2-chair minimum. So you've moved along. You've moved along.
You know what? Your short attention span sort of opinion. I couldn't agree more. I have to be honest with you, Joey. I mean, I have a 3-minute segment for my YouTube, and the average attention span with anything is like, if you're doing well, you're over a minute. Most people will watch it for, no, I mean that sincerely. Most people are watching something for less than a minute and moving on. That's why they're giving you so many, Anna Wintour, who was the head of Vogue or whatever, she said there's such demand for product that a lot of it is coming out unpolished. And it really is. A lot of it is just put it out there, put the energy out there, have that pop, that energy, and it's sort of style over substance. So it's not funny, it's just energetic. And that's not funny. So we're not in a great place right now. I mean, Joey, do you see this? Do you see Broadway coming back?
Yeah, I'm going to talk to Pat Addis, who's a Broadway producer, and we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yes.
She's a good friend, and she'll tell me whether it's coming back or not. Because there's one. That's a woman who puts her money out. She pays for the shows. That's a producer's job.
Wow.
The Means Committee, and she's pretty successful with one of the longest running shows on Broadway. Still is the Fantastics off Broadway. Small theaters are pretty interesting. There's a video about on the Disney Channel, which you have to pay for, incidentally. So I don't advise you to go buy it. If you want to watch Hamilton, you got to pay. But on the Disney Channel, you pay to see Howard, and he was the writer with Alan Menken, who did a lot of the songs like Beauty and the Beast. But in the earlier days, he had small theaters in New York, and they're more intimate. Even Les Paul, when I worked with Les doing stand-up every week at the Iridium, Les liked that. He didn't have to work. He left $150 million. He just said he wore Payless shoes and jeans and had arthritis. So, he played the guitar with his tongue. But he was great. He could sit there and do this thing in a small room with people who were paying attention to his music, and he liked that. They listened to every word that he said and every song he played, and then he would go home. He liked that. He didn't want to do a big arena and make $40 million and have all the groupies and the lights and the cameras, and once you make it, unless you really are an egomaniac, I hate to say this because there are some who are, but once you make it, you don't have to do all of that. I mean, why would you do all of that? When you get, Joan Rivers said to me one time, I worked with Joan on WOR, and she said to me one day, she said, Joey, why are you working so hard for? You don't have to prove anything. You already were the number one jock in the country. You're not going to go. What are you going to be, number 1.5?
Right.
You can't do any more than you already did. She said, when you make it to the top, all you got to do is enjoy it. I said, well, look at you. Yeah. You're the star of New Faces. She's always, he was always having something done to reinvent. This woman reinvented herself totally.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Died too young because she'd still be performing, Joey.
Oh, she would never stop. She was born to do this. But see, and then she got into clothing lines and health, health foods. She once said to me, I said, you're keeping a really good body. I was doing the Bikram yoga every 5 days a week. And she said, oh, I just don't eat anything. She said, I will not put a grape in my mouth after 6 p.m. She said, that's how I keep my weight. So
that was Joan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was a very interesting lady. I've rubbed shoulders with a lot of these people, and I have met them in unusual circumstances and in a common hour. So when you are friendly with people and you get to know them after a while, you realize that nobody's any different than the other one. That's why this whole color thing is a turnoff to me. It doesn't mean nothing to me. I mean, I understand the plight of poverty and the plight of lack of education, but I don't understand the plight of color. To me, it's like bullshit, because who cares what color you are? But there's a society that does care. I don't. And I can't apply that to everybody.
I think there's a large percentage of people who were jarred awake by this whole situation. I'm not, have your opinion. I just think, we're not in a great place right now with that. And there has to be improvement so that, look, the color, we're equal until, proven otherwise, but most people don't look at it that way. That's what I believe,
Well, Oprah had it right. Oprah had it right. The color purple.
What'd she say?
The color purple.
What?
The color purple.
Right. Right. Right.
That's the one to avoid.
Yeah.
You know, I listen. We got to do comedy, and you got to have some fun. And this whole election thing, it's this battle of these two clowns. You know, they both ride in the same Volkswagen with 20 other people, and they get out, and all they do is fall over each other, and not any one of them is entertaining. I want to see. I would rather watch the trapeze rather than the clowns now. But I used to like the clowns. See, but now the clowns aren't funny.
Yes.
If I stayed too long at the fair.
Yes.
I wanted the clowns to be constantly funny.
Yeah.
I said I went to a clown's funeral, and it was about a mile long, you know, with people. And I thought he was greatly admired, but it was only because of the shoes.
Very good, Joey.
So, you know, I think somewhere along the line, we have to really keep people engaged in what is, like I just did. Comment on what you think, but say it properly. Have fun with it. Don't take yourself too seriously. These are all the rules that you follow. You're a clean working guy, and you do mostly when I left off with you a couple of years ago, you were doing a lot of the Jewish jokes and the Jewish culture. I think there's a difference between a Long Island Jew and a Miami Jew. And I don't know what it is.
No question. No, I just did Jews in Virginia, and they don't get anything. I mean, I did it on Zoom, a Zoom fundraiser for a synagogue. Some of the stuff just went right over their heads, Joey. So there's so many different kinds of Jews. You're absolutely right. Jews out west haven't heard stock Jewish jokes that are the most why do Jewish husbands die before their wives? They want to. They haven't heard that joke. Every Jew on the East Coast has heard that joke. Anyway, how are we doing?
We're doing fine. Now I want to hear some of your material. Tell me something, and then I'll let you off the hook here.
Some of my material.
Well, you write your own stuff, and you are your own person. So grace us with a little of it.
I'll do one conversation. When I graduated college, my parents moved to Greensboro, North Carolina. So what I remember most about my first visit is a conversation with my mother, one that's very typical of the Jewish experience, a conversation that can take over 15 minutes. Of the 15, you could do without 14. All right? I thought we'd have dinner home tomorrow night and go out Saturday. How does that sound? Terrific. Or we could go out both nights, whatever you want to do. Doesn't make a difference, Mom. Which would you prefer? Whatever Dad wants to do. You know him. He wants to do what you want to do. What do you want to do, Ma? I really don't care. Whatever you want to do is good for me. I'm very easy to please. You know that. I can eat scrambled eggs and be happy. So let's do that. We're not going to do that. I want you to have a good meal. This conversation almost leads you to believe, Joey, that when I was born, instead of her breast, she gave me a menu. Okay? So that's a good one to end on.
You're great. You're great. So I just want everybody to get a sample of you because I spent all this time talking about me.
Morristown Museum Theater, August 22nd at 7:30. Morristown Museum Theater in Morristown, New Jersey. Go to their website. You'll see tickets available for My Rise to the Middle. That's my show.
And when is the date?
August 22nd.
I want to make sure people know they didn't miss it. Why am I yelling?
It's August 22nd, just in case you didn't hear me.
Okay.
Thanks, Joey.
And so this is free, right? It's sponsored by
It's free for everybody who doesn't come.
Brad Zimmerman, thank you. Or can we call you Zimmy?
Thank you, Joey. Thanks, Frank.
Let a smile be your umbrella. Don't get a mouthful of rain.